to talk about. Welcome to Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Mystic Lake. Yes, the Vikings got their first win of the season here at US Bank Stadium, beating the Detroit Lions in impressive fashion, 34-20. I'm Mark Rosen, joined by Pete Bercich. Coming up in this show this afternoon, we'll break down another dominant performance by Dalvin Cook, to say the least. We'll also hit the podium, hear from head coach Mike Zimmer, quarterback Kirk Cousins, and probably others as well, as the Vikings take a big win over the divisional opponent, their second straight win over divisional opponent. As I turn to Pete Bercich, they may as well just give Dalvin Cook the NFC Offensive Player of the Week award again after he earned it against Green Bay last week.
No question about it, and just what this young man can do. The explosiveness as a runner, and his ability to start and stop. The guys like C.J. Ham and this offensive line, he runs through those arm tackles. He's one of, if not the best running back in the game right now. Great receiver, great screen runner, can do all those different things. You just have to get him the football in space, and he makes people miss, but so explosive to get to that second level. 252 yards today of offense in his hands. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Including that 70-yarder to finish things off.
Exactly, and that's the dagger. I mean, you had some other things that not go your way, but the main theory, or the main story for the last 2 weeks has been Dalvin Cook. My heavens. Yeah,
well, it started last week with an upset win over Green Bay. Now they had to do something about it because, as we know, the Vikings have not played all that well here at US Bank Stadium, with an opening loss against Green Bay, frustrating loss against Tennessee, disappointing loss against Atlanta, but opening drive, Pete, they did what they had to do. Smooth transition, 7 plays, 65-yard drive, and, here comes Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, this is the first time Detroit has not led a game all this season. So, the defense goes out, stops them. They come back, and the offense was like a hot knife through butter. We were averaging over 8 yards per play in the beginning of this football game. Everything worked. Irv Smith Jr., the run, setting up the play fake. This is exactly what Zimmer envisions and what he's talking about when he wants a run-first style of offense. Abdullah getting his chance to get in there. A nice little dive at the end.
Yep.
Great block by Kyle Rudolph in the end zone.
Against his former team, the Detroit Lions.
And so offensively, they have their identity. You know what they're trying to do. Irv Smith Jr. there, being a fullback, getting out into the flat, whatever that is right there.
Something you can't do, all right.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Here comes Dalvin.
Look at this.
Arm tackles
bouncing off him, and then has the speed to get to the second level. And I was almost surprised he was in the game that late, and then to break one for 70. He gives the ball, rightfully so, to C.J. Ham. C.J. Ham is probably, most, I don't know about overlooked, or he's a fullback. I mean, his job is to make his neck shorter. That's what he does. But C.J. Ham's been doing a hell of a job.
As we take a look at these game stats, the big one, the 3 turnovers, the 3 interceptions, 2 of those interceptions happening in the red zone for the Minnesota Vikings off Matthew Stafford before he had to leave the game with apparent concussion. He took a knee to the head late in the game, but the game was pretty much over by then. Chase Daniel came in through another interception. But what else stands out to you there?
Well, I tell you what, that interception by Eric Kendricks was an absolute thing of beauty against T.J. Hawkinson. And I know the route. It's the tight end does a little 3-step and fakes like he's going to run a quick out and then tries to bend it to the goalpost. And Eric Kendricks knew what was coming, and he was waiting for it. And, and then Eric Wilson on the other side playing, passing off the underneath receiver, the first underneath drag route over to Kendricks, and then he falls back in where Stafford's not going to see him. I mean, our linebackers, I think Kendricks at least 4 or 5 times today made some remarkable plays in coverage, and unfortunately you can't see him because quarterback doesn't throw the football. But our linebacking group, I mean, Eric Wilson's he's a big playmaker. I mean, he's making sacks, interceptions. The guy is he's a box score highlight film.
Yeah. So lots more to talk about with Pete Bercich, but right now let's go to head coach Mike Zimmer and hear what he has to say after this 34-20 win over the Detroit Lions.
Okay, I thought we played well. Hey, there's an echo here. It's good now? Okay. I thought we came out and played with a lot of energy early in the ball game. Got off to a good start. Offensively, we were close to 500 yards. Defensively, we had 3 interceptions, playing with some maybe a little bit undermanned from what we normally have. I thought Cookie ran the ball exceptionally well, but honestly, and he did run exceptionally well, but our offensive line did a great job. The tight ends, C.J. Ham, the fullback, so I thought that was we kept the third downs in pretty manageable situations, and defensively we fought our rear ends off. Unfortunately, the special teams wasn't very good today, so we're going to have to get better there.
I know you mentioned Dalvin Cook. Just your thoughts on him reaching 200 yards, first 200-yard rusher since Adrian Peterson did it almost exactly 5 years ago.
How many did he have last week, Bob?
Under 200.
Rushing yards, not total yards.
Yeah. Well, Dalvin's a great player, and again, the offensive line is blocking well. I think he runs extremely hard. He's physical. He's hard to take down. He's got great acceleration.
Mike, you stressed all week of this team playing with great energy and getting off to a good start and playing well at home. How did that happen today? Did it just you see it happening during the week?
Well, Mark, Joe, I thought, this obviously is a different year, coming into US Bank Stadium, and last time we were in here we didn't have much energy. It was really dead, and so we try to do it every week. We emphasize it coming out of Green Bay. We've emphasized it this past week. I talked about it just about every single day this past week about, we got to come out, and we can't worry about who's in the stands, who's not in the stands, what kind of music is playing. We got to go out and we got to do our job and execute. And I thought that we did a nice job today. We got a 3-and-out to start the game, and then the offense took I think we got 14-0 or something.
Mike, it goes without saying you wanted the defense to really kind of take last week's game and catapult it. 3 picks. Your veterans were double-digit tackles, just playing excellent. And then you see someone like Jeff Gladney get 7 tackles. Can you just speak to how the defense has really been improving and kind of stacking up good games?
Well, Don, we've had to change a lot of things because of our personnel with what we've been trying to do defensively, and so part of it is narrowing some of the package down. Some of it is adding some things that we feel like can help guys in coverage. Some of the things have been how we can add to some of the guys in rush. I thought they played well today. There wasn't a lot of mistakes that I saw throughout the course of the ball game, but I thought we played hard, and that's a big key to it. I think we could have tackled a little bit better in some instances, but I thought we played smart today. And then, in some of the key areas, Eric Wilson's interception, I think that came after a block punt, so that was big. And then Kendricks' interception was off of a double move. In the Harrison Smith interception, it was an overthrow, but they just hit us on a play that I had no business running that coverage, and so I switched it up and we got lucky.
Mike, what does a performance like this sort of tell you, for the second half of the season? What sort of gives you the most hope or excitement?
Well, when you're sitting there at what were we, 1-5, everything is collapsing. You're getting ready to jump off the cliff. You beat Green Bay, and then you start to get a little juice. You beat Detroit, now you start getting a little bit more juice. So I think the confidence level helps. I think, continuing to play well, I think gives us confidence that we can do these things against good football teams. And Detroit's a good team; they really are. Maybe they weren't their best today, but it was a good win.
Mike, up front, what do you think sparked the most improvement with the defensive line?
Well, we're doing a few different things with them, but they're starting to get the understanding of how we're trying to play, really. And, they've been playing hard. That's been an important part of it. We've had some good rushes in there, but it goes back to that old saying, the harder you work, the harder it is to fail.
Hey, Mike, your thoughts on that one of your first red zone stops where they had like 1st and goal at the 8. Boyd has a tackle at the pylon. Then they got 3rd and goal at the 1, and they got Adrian in a heavy set. And then you guys break through for a tackle for loss. Just your thoughts on that, the defense on that possession.
Yeah. I had an idea on the third down that they were going to do that, so we got lucky, in some of those areas. But, that's part of it. And honestly, we work extremely hard on red zone inside the 5-yard line, and that's part of it. Understanding where you're at, understanding what they like to do. We spend a couple days every week trying to be good at that.
How do you feel Chris Jones did in his Vikings debut, and did it help him at all, having some knowledge of Detroit?
I don't know if it helped the knowledge of Detroit, but I know that I thought he played pretty well today. Glad he was in there, and I thought he did some nice things.
Mike Dalvin's obviously been on fire, but Kirk has looked so much more comfortable the last couple of games. The offensive line has given him time. What is it that the offensive line has maybe done these last 2-3 games that maybe they weren't at the beginning of the year?
Well, I think part of it is just settling in, and when you can run the ball like we can, or like we have, it tightens everything up. They had a whole bunch of zero blitzes in there today, or extra rushers coming really to stop the run. And so once that happens, then you have some opportunities to create some plays down the field. The score didn't tell us to do that at those particular times, but for us to be able to run the football against those kind of things and get big runs, if you get the one extra guy blocked, you have a chance to get some big opportunities.
Like, where do you think Irv Smith is improving the most?
I think, like most of these young guys, the confidence level. Irv believes now that he can really play this game and play this game at a high level, and I think those things. But he's always run good routes. He's always caught the ball well. Probably his blocking is getting better and better. And when you have a guy like Dalvin in there. All these guys think about, it's like having a great punt returner. The punt return team's going to go like crazy, and then like when they got Dalvin back there, they know, hey, this guy can go the distance at any point if I just do my job. So I think he's getting better at his blocking.
Dalvin also had
time for two more.
Dalvin also had a key block on the second touchdown to Irv. I think he cleaned up Everson coming in. Just describe the commitment that he has to the blocking game as well as.
Yeah, Dalvin is a terrific player because it doesn't matter to him. Obviously he wants to get 200 yards every week, but he's going to do all the dirty work. He caught a great, he caught on the 3rd and 8 or 7 or whatever it was. He caught a ball and made a couple guys miss. He made a couple guys miss on the flip play late. But he's going to do everything. That's why he's a captain. That's why he comes to work every single day. He's a terrific leader. He's energetic, and guys in the locker room really love him.
Hey, Mike, why did you guys put this?
The words of head coach Mike Zimmer as we take a look at the big board here at US Bank Stadium for a big performance by Dalvin Cook, Pete Bercich, and there it is in black and white and actually in purple. 22 carries, 206 yards rushing. Yeah, do the math. That's 9.4 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. He leads the National Football League in touchdowns, blocking, receiving. Yeah. On the same day that Adrian Peterson returns U.S. Bank as a Detroit Lion on the sidelines, a wink and a nod to Dalvin Cook.
Absolutely, and that was one of the things we said during the game was to watch Dalvin Cook with that 70-yard run and then look across the field at Adrian Peterson and think about all the times that he did that. So fortunately for the Vikings, we have Dalvin Cook in his prime. We had Adrian in his prime. To see that type of a running game, it's amazing. It's to watch Dalvin Cook and how his vision and his starting and stopping and all those things that he's done. And let's give some credit, a lot of credit to C.J. Ham, a lot of credit to the tight ends, the offensive line. They've found a groove, and the play action game off of it is solid. Cousins hasn't been asked to do a whole lot. He's been efficient and his numbers have been good. But let's face it, we haven't asked him to do a whole lot or be the guy to carry this team. And with Dalvin, those games that he missed, the game that he missed, and you come back, he is what makes this offense and this team go.
As Mike Zimmer said, it doesn't matter to him. Sure, he'd like to have 200-yard rushing games every week, but he does the other things so well as well when he's asked.
He's a smart player
to block, catch, whatever it is. Yeah,
he's a very, very smart player. He's great in protection. I mean, he's all around an unbelievable back, let alone a great running back.
Well, as you can imagine, the reporters were anxious to talk to Dalvin Cook after today's win, and that's what they're doing right now. Let's check in.
Dalvin, what's gotten into you these last 2 weeks? It's back-to-back now. What has been going so right to let you do what you've done these last 2 weeks?
Just turning it loose. Just trying to do it all for my team to get a win. Obviously, you know, we started this thing behind the 8 ball. And like I said last week, you know, we lost some games that we wasn't supposed to lose, you know, equally, and we know that. So, you know, we just trying to play catch up, and I'm just trying to, you know, give my team a fighting chance. You got to commend the guys up front, though. Receivers, tight ends, my whole line, fullback, all those guys, man, for making this thing, you know, open for me to hit some holes and get some daylight out there.
Dalvin, talk about hitting holes, that 70-yard touchdown. You don't need much daylight. Your O-line says that. What did you see on that?
I seen my guys get on some guys, and it's a league, you know, you're gonna have to break 1 or 2 tackles to get where you're going, and that's just playing in the NFL. And I had a guy that was in the hole, and I knew if I broke his tackle, it was some guys misfitting, and I had some daylight. And like I said, guys got in front of people. You see receivers getting on guys and giving me a chance to make some plays.
What did it mean to you to have this performance in front of Adrian Peterson, the guy who holds most of the Vikings rushing records you might get someday?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. Obviously, a guy that's done it before me was in the same shoes I was in, you know, just a few years ago. You know, it means a lot. You know, when I got drafted, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. You know, I thought I was going to be a guy that just come in and, you know, play behind Adrian, but they drafted me to come play right away, and I had to be ready. I was just a kid, didn't know, and you know, just to be playing on the field with Adrian, you know, it's always a blessing for me to soak that up every time.
How about Dalvin just getting your first 200-yard rushing game of your career, and you know, Adrian was the last guy who did it 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's big, man. You talk about confidence, and you talk about just building from last week. Like I said, them guys up front, you know, they're gonna go home today with a lot of confidence that we can run the football. And you know, that's what it's all about with me, giving those guys up front and my guys that's blocking for me a lot of confidence. And I think, you know, we got the confidence going into Monday Night Football.
You think, Dalvin, I mean, you didn't come in with a little bit less than 10 minutes to go when you had 190, and then they got the touchdown after the block punt, and you came back in and got 200. You think that hadn't happened, you would have finished with 190 or what?
Yeah, for sure. It was giving them a chance to get back in the game, and we wanted to end the game as quick as possible. And coach threw me back out there, and you know, they had a chance to make a play, but we just made another one.
Hey, Dalvin, what's kind of your approach to leading these guys? I mean, everyone speaks so highly of you in the locker room. How do you kind of instill in them, you know, kind of a confidence to follow you and that, and get everyone to be, you know, so complimentary and admirable of you that they just want to do whatever they can to spring you? Yeah, it's all about just, and with me, you know, I'm not a rah-rah guy, but when it comes down to getting my guys ready to play, you know, that just comes out of me naturally. But, you know, you can ask the guys, you know, I don't try to be nobody outside of who Dalvin is, man. You know, I just be me. And, you know, when you lead by example and just go back to work, you know, trust the process of how you get things done. You know, guys see that around you, and they just want to know, you know, how it's being done, and, you know, how I can get it done too. And, you know, we got a bunch of young guys on this team that's looking for somebody just to grab them and show them the ropes. And, you know, I done been there before when I stepped in the locker room with Latavius Murray, Jerry McKinnon, you know, all those guys that was before me that showed me the ropes of how to be a pro. And, you know, I'm just passing the knowledge on.
Dalvin, you talk about leading by example. You had that key block on Irv's touchdown, and Mike Zimmer just said you are willing to do anything for this team. How important is it to show the guys that you are willing to throw the body around for them? Yeah, and I think the guys know that. You know, like I said, I'm just doing my job, and that's what they brought me here for, to do my job and to do it to the best of my ability.
that play right there, is a play we've been dialing up for quite a bit, and I knew Irv had a chance to score, and it was Griff coming off the edge. So it was a key moment in the game, and I'm just happy Irv got that second touchdown.
Did Everson say anything to you in that moment?
Yeah, y'all want to beep it out or what? No, I'm just. You know how Griff is now. I would just let y'all know. It was some words being exchanged out there.
How much of a chance did you get to talk to both Peterson and Griff, before and after the game today?
Yeah, man, I talked to Griff all through the game, to be honest. We heard Griff the first play he came in on the field. We was in the goal line in the strike zone, and he came on the field letting us know he was coming on the field. Here I go. I'm back. Like, he just let us know, man. That's fun, man. Griff still being him and still enjoying the game. That's most importantly. Because outside of this thing, off the field, that's still my brother, and I'm just happy he's good mentally and enjoying the game, and with Adrian, like I said, living legend. Everybody that plays the running back position, will probably give you the same speech about Adrian. Just still soaking up the game, and we're doing the same thing behind him like a sponge, just trying to learn as much as we can.
Did you embrace him after the game? I know you did last year. I didn't see it. Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I did go talk to him, and I'm a guy that I just want to know. I just want to learn. I just want to pick somebody's brain and try to get it all.
Dalvin, with that said, what does that make you feel when this week Adrian called you, quote unquote, a lethal weapon? That's what he's calling you. That makes you feel good?
Lethal weapon. Yeah, that makes me feel great. Like I said, man, AJ, I can't say enough about him. Man, we could sit here I could tell you so much about him, how I feel about him. And I'm just, if he hear this or he don't, I'm just glad that I got a chance to watch him, growing up as a young kid, and to see that it was something special for me, and he don't know how much he impacted my career, as far as a running back, and I appreciate him for everything, and just for being my big brother, for anything, all day, just keep doing you, man, and I appreciate it.
Hey, Dalvin, what was it like to see Amir get into the end zone, especially against his former team? And I know they reviewed the play, but did you know right away that he got the score?
Yeah, I kind of like was hoping so bad they just let my guy just got his touchdown. And Amir has been through so much, as a player, but as a person, if you meet him, he's so smart. The way he carries himself, the way he goes about his business. Nothing rattles him. And when you want to talk about a sound human being, that's a guy right there to be around, and to have his spirits and him around us is so great for the group. And to see him get that touchdown, that's great. I hope more come his way this season.
Dalvin, what's made that screen game so effective the last
couple more for Dalvin?
What's made the screen game so effective with the one you had last week and Amir today? What's been working so well with that?
I think we've just been, catching some teams and some great looks that we wanted on the screen plays. And you got the O-lineman going down there making blocks, giving that extra effort, the uncoachable things that we doing to get us in the end zone and get us some points on the board. So you got to commend the guys up front for getting us in the end zone.
Dalvin, you surprised you guys had to challenge that first touchdown?
Sometimes official miss some things sometimes, and I knew that I had got in, but we had to go back and get a second look at it. But as long as we got those points on the board, I was okay.
Appreciate it. Wearing his chef hat, Dalvin was cooking again, Pete Bercich, in, my goodness, 22 carries, 206 yards. I assume he hit that 20.9 mile per hour top speed when he was on that 70-yard run. That's the amazing thing. He not only get past the first wave of defenders, defensive backs are known for their speed, and he just sprinted to the finish.
Yeah, he did, and I think everyone that's been able to see Dalvin play, and if you talk to guys that play against him, it's his ability to cut, his ability to start and stop, and the explosiveness. It's about going from 0 to 60. It's, you know what I mean? He can go from 0 to top speed to that 20.9 level very, very quickly. And just ask Jamie Collins, linebacker
no
for
kidding.
Detroit, who got to see the wiggle and the explosiveness all in one game. And Dalvin's he's a unique and he's a very special talent.
The Vikings have been blessed with some amazing running backs in the history of their franchise, going back to Chuck Foreman, your teammate Robert Smith, Adrian Peterson in his prime, and now Dalvin Cook. So it's interesting to sort of compare the Chuck Foreman was the spin doctor, and he did so many things with Fran Tarkenton, and Robert Smith had a lot of skill with your particular teams as well, especially that 98 team. Dalvin has a different sort of set of skills, as special set of skills, as we may want to call it,
Yep.
but he fits right in with that group.
Yeah, he does, and I think that's the one thing about Dalvin that makes him unique is I don't think he's lacking in any of the areas that you require a running back to play, and that's not just running the football. I mean, Robert Smith, all those guys could run the football very well. Adrian Peterson is the best that I've ever seen outside of Walter Payton and Barry Sanders. But the pass protection, right? Those are the things that the running backs, it's hard to do. It hurts to pass protect. You have to know the different types of coverages and the blocks and all the mental part of it. Dalvin Cook is a 3-down back. That means you are not losing anything offensively by having him on the field first, second, and third down. There's no Leroy Horde substitute for short yardage. There's no David Palmer in the backfield to throw a check down to and maybe get a wiggle and get the first down. Dalvin Cook can and has done it all. So it's almost as if you took all those great running backs you mentioned and put them in a pile and kind of mixed them all together, and you have Dalvin Cook.
Dr. Frankenstein works quite well. Meanwhile, the guy again had for the second straight week, had the so-called best seat in the house, was the quarterback himself, Kirk Cousins, who was addressing the media as well.
All right. Was very proud of our effort as a team today. Great to get a win. Offensively, I thought it was important that we started fast, getting 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, I believe. I think all day long, when we got in the red zone, getting touchdowns instead of kicking field goals was really important. I thought the offensive line did an outstanding job blocking all game long, and especially late in the game where the Lions know we're going to be running the football. To still be able to move the football says a lot about our line. Really, our coaches, the scheme they put together says a lot about Dalvin and Alex running. So really proud of them. And then, got to tip your hat as well to the defense and the way they played, creating red zone turnovers and, giving us the football back. So a lot of positives from today that we can continue to build on. And we'll certainly, talk about some things we can do better as well. But great to get a win and to get our first home win. And now, we'll look ahead to our next game, another divisional opponent. Take any questions you have.
Hey, Kirk, how about Dalvin Cook getting 200 yards rushing with Adrian Peterson, the last guy to do it for the Vikings, in the building? He did it 5 years ago.
Yeah, just an impressive effort. I think the most impressive run for me was, among several, was the flip. We pitched out to him late in the game with the corner blitz, and he made the corner miss and then was able to dart up the field for a big gain. That play was, not looking good with that corner blitzing, but, when you have a great player like that who can make somebody miss, it turned into a big gain, and that says a lot about Dalvin and his ability. And I think so much of our offense today really started with our consistent, running the football and staying out of third downs at times. I think we had a couple drives where we may have only had 1 third down in those 2 drives to start the game. So really positive from that standpoint.
Kirk, I think on that drive before halftime, you really didn't have to throw downfield much. How much does it change things for you knowing that you can get big plays out of things like screens that you've seen the last couple of weeks?
Yes, I thought the Lions did a good job in coverage. Not just they were doing a good job taking away some things down the field, and you have to go where your reads take you, and then those guys have to make plays too. And Dalvin did on the linebacker and man coverage, and Amir obviously did on the screen, and we had a couple runs that hit as well. So it was a nice combination of plays to get down there, and again to get 7 instead of 3, I think is a big deal.
That said, the offensive lines feels like it's giving you a lot more time. Looks like you're more comfortable. They're obviously paving the way for Dalvin to do some things. What's been different with the O-line maybe the last 2-3 games that maybe wasn't there at the beginning of the year?
Well, I think we're, like you said, running the football well. I think that helps, to start there. And the flow of the game, when you have a 2-score, 3-score lead, it's a different game than when you're trailing by 3 scores. I mean, that's just a completely different offense you're putting on the field and the way you have to play. So I think that's it's hard to compare those games when they're in totally different types of games being played.
Kirk, obviously you have to take sometimes what the defense gives you, but you got your tight ends involved. You had a couple of short passes to Rudy and then the 2 touchdowns to Irv. What do you like that the tight ends have been doing lately?
Well, yeah, I mean, on the one touchdown to Irv, Rudy's completely uncovered, and the read is to start with Irv. So I started with Irv, and he was open enough to throw him the ball, but Kyle's actually even more open. I just didn't have to progress to him. So you just, run the plays that are called, go where your reads take you, and if it means Irv gets 2 touchdowns, so be it, and some weeks it's been Justin and Adam. And I just think it's a great reminder to everybody on the outside of the player that Irv is, the player that Rudy is. At any time, they can help us. It's just a matter of the plays that get called, and then the way the defense chooses to defend those plays, and then the ball gets distributed accordingly.
How do these last 2 wins set you guys up for the second half of the season?
Well, coming out of the bye at 1-5, my thought process was we have 10 football games left guaranteed to us, and those 10 are going to tell the story probably far more than the 1-5 start. So, I'd say the same about with 8 left. The second half is going to tell the story far more than the first half. So we need to have the best second half we possibly can, and that starts with a tough opponent in Chicago on the road on Monday night.
Kirk, how nice is it to see swagger from the defense after some of the hard times that they've had?
Yeah, they did a great job creating turnovers. I think they did a good job, too, of forcing a field goal instead of allowing a touchdown in the red zone. I think they're coming into their own, too, as young players. I was a young player once and had my struggles in my first, second, third year where you're figuring it out, even early in my 4th year. But eventually it starts to click, and you can take your game to another level, and I think that's the case for any player, not just a quarterback. And I'm sure on the defense there's some of that as well, of young players getting more opportunities and more experience, and you learn through that, and it's exciting to see where a player can get to.
Hey, Kirk, was strange, especially the first half, having so few third down plays. And then what happened on that first, 3rd, and 6 in the third quarter with the delay of game penalty?
Yeah, it was unique. I think that goes back to the run game being effective, the play action game being effective, and did a great job there. If we can stay out of 3rd down, all the better. Let's just keep running our 1st and 2nd down offense. The 3rd down. In the first half, I think the first 3rd down we had, the bootleg that Everson tipped, I was frustrated about that one because Rudy was open, and that was likely a conversion. So I thought that was a play I'd like to have back. And then the delay of game was on me at the start of the second half.
How much confidence do you have in Dalvin to make that block with Everson crashing on the second touchdown to Irv?
Yeah, that's the scheme. Is he's got the outside guy off the tackle, and so you're going to ask a lot of your running backs in protection, and that's a big thing as a quarterback. Is whether it's Alex or Amir or Dalvin, CJ, whoever it may be, even Booney, you just say, hey, not only you got to run the football, you got to catch the football, and you got to know how to run routes, and you also got to pass protect. So it's a very diverse position in terms of what we're going to ask you to do in the modern day football.
He said Everson was
saying, it kind of goes without saying, but I'll ask you anyway, just how much does it make things easier for you when you guys are rushing for 275 yards as a team?
Yeah, you're just going to have fewer attempts, which is a good thing, if you will, because we've been able to be explosive with those fewer attempts and still be able to move the football. And I also think that it keeps us from having to drop back all the time, which I think defenses want to be able to rush the passer. So anytime you can run the football, it really gives you your entire offense, and you're able to kind of control the situation. So it's a real positive.
Any more questions for Kirk?
Kirk, the game within the game, I think Dalvin was saying how Everson was, you could hear him right at the beginning of the game. You weren't surprised because he's a loud guy. He was kind of John with Dalvin when he tackled him. How was he for you? Did he say anything?
Yeah, I love Everson. The best part was when we all took the field and there was a moment, there was quiet, and you hear his voice from the other sideline saying, some music would be nice. Just asking the PA guy to play more music. So he's just, he brought that juice for the Vikings for a decade. And I remember in 2018 when I first got here, he was bringing the juice. And then when we lost him for part of that year, it affects your locker room. It affects the juice you guys bring because we've all kind of looked to him for that energy. And he was going to be the same guy today, just for a different team wearing different colors. But he was still bringing that juice. And if anything, I knew we had to match it. What I didn't want to do was have him bring that momentum that I knew he could bring and us not match it. So fortunately, we were able to play at a level that was able to match it.
Any more questions for Kirk?
Kirk Cousins on Everson Griffin. Let's before we delve into that as well, Pete Bercich, let's take a look at his scatter chart. And here's my observation. It's not so much what Kirk Cousins did today, it's what he didn't do. He didn't throw any interceptions. He, in particular, didn't throw any interceptions in the red zone, which is what killed Matthew Stafford and the Lions' chances today.
No, you're right. I mean, offensively, we were great in the plus-minus as far as turnovers. What didn't go well are obviously, punt protection. But, Cousins wasn't required to do anything deep. He did, stretch out the defense a couple times. He still has such an accurate deep throw. I mean, Stafford, this is what the Vikings defense needed to do, and that's keep the ball in front of them. You can't allow Stafford to hit the big plays down the field. Make him earn it. Make him snap the ball one more time over and over and over again. And eventually, you get in that red zone, the field tightens up, and you're able to make them kick field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. So I think defensively, you really with the youth that we have at corner, with the injuries that you have at corner, you can't put those guys on islands and say, hey, you're going to be covering these guys one-on-one all the way across the field. I think you really had to play with two safeties deep. The defensive line, I think, is getting better and better at playing short a man in the box. And in those corners and safeties, they kept everything in front of them, and that was a great thing.
First play of the game, Stafford tried to go deep, and Chris Boyd broke the play up. And that was a huge moment. You're thinking, well, they're going to test this guy right away. He's looking to hit a 75-yarder or whatever, and the Vikings broke it up, and they went 3 and out. That could change the game that quickly.
It can. I mean, and without Kenny Galladay, they're missing some juice on offense, or as a wide receiver. But you're absolutely right. They take a shot deep right away, and then we answered. I think for Chris Boyd, it was kind of a tale of two cities. He made some unbelievable tackles, especially that one in the red zone, which allowed the Vikings to make on third down get a tackle for loss, make him kick a field goal. But he also let the loss contain a couple times and did some things. So Chris Boyd is learning. Jeff Gladney continues, Mark, to flash, to make these plays here and there. No, he's not making the interceptions, but he's getting in the right place. I think the game's starting to slow down for him, and that's the key. You got to get Dantzler back. You might get Holton Hill back, but those guys haven't played in weeks. And right. I really like the way this group is starting to play together. And if those other guys, if Dantzler and Fields and Hill are out for another couple of weeks, they may not get their spots back once they're healthy.
It's about taking advantage of their opportunities, and that's what these young guys are doing. We're going to read through those highlights in case you missed them, or if you want to see them again, why not? The Vikings won today, and Dalvin Cook had a field day.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook showed up today. I mean, no question about it. That's the first touchdown. He has a touchdown in all 7 of his first games. The last guy to do that was back in 1994, Emmitt Smith.
Wow. First of 2 to Irv Smith.
Yeah, Irv Smith. I mean, this is the red zone thing. When you start blocking as a tight end, then you start getting open on some of these play actions. Amir Abdullah coming in to spell Dalvin Cook. Nice screen, great blocking. Kyle Rudolph in the end zone, great blocking. All those guys around on offense are just blocking to the whistle.
And again, the play action pass. Detroit has to honor that running game every single time.
Absolutely. I mean, when Dalvin's getting 9 yards of carry, and this is one of the big ones right here, bouncing off a tackle, and then just turning on the Jets. No one's going to catch him. You love to see a running back do that because he and Ham and that offensive line have been wearing out that Detroit Lions front. all day long, and they finally got it to break on that play, and Dalvin Cook with a 70-yard run. So it's one thing, Mark, at the end of the day to have 275 or 200 rushing yards, but the explosive plays in the running game, that's the big thing, and that's what Dalvin Cook brings. He's not just going to move the chains. He's taking that thing 50, 60, 70 yards down the field and putting up touchdowns.
The rushing yards, most of those 206 going to Dalvin Cook, the 3 turnovers, 2 in the red zone. Wilson Kendricks getting those key interceptions, which ended drives, and very Detroit Lion-like, which is sort of their MO and has been for many, many years. I love watching this team play. Stafford could be an electrifying type of quarterback. They did miss Galladay, but they managed to kick themselves in the butt all the time, it seems like, at the most inopportune times.
And it's a pretty simple story. I mean, Stafford, every loss that they've had so far this year, Stafford has thrown an interception. He threw 2 today. You look at what the defense has been able to do to get Stafford off of his game. Eric Kendricks had an interception, which was a thing of beauty because of the route that Hockenson was running. He knew exactly what it was going to be, but there were 3 or 4 other plays where he took away what was happening down the field and where Stafford wanted to go. Eric Wilson, great job letting the underneath route go over to Kendricks and then him falling back underneath the second slant. He gets the interception. He's a bit of a box score honey. I mean, he's all about the sacks, the interceptions, and those kinds of things. So that linebacker group, is playing real well. Troy Dye getting a chance to play quite a bit. So mixed in with all these guys who are playing so well are some guys that we haven't seen a whole lot of. So it's still, as Zimmer alluded to at the end of the game, it's a bit of a mixed bag. We're still learning. The coaches are learning what those players do well so they can tweak the game plan and not ask them to do too much.
I think after Dalvin's injury, you thought, the groin injury, they're going to have to kind of keep him on a pitch count. They're going to have to really kind of ease him back into it. Well, he certainly wasn't that way against Green Bay, and again today with the 22 carries. And then the game gets a little bit out of hand. Detroit scores. They block the punt, thinking now Madison can finish it out. Nope, Dalvin comes in, and bam, hits the 70-yarder too.
Well, that's what makes him the great player that he is. I mean, 22 carries, 206 yards, explosion. Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. When I saw Dalvin going in again at the end of the game, I thought to myself, this was an opportunity to finish this game off, let Madison with the fresh legs do it, and let Dalvin get ready for the following week. And, coaches, you're week to week. You're just worried, you're not worried about his legs later on down the year. You want to get there first. You want to get there and be in position to be in the playoffs, and so they had him in there, and he exploded and had that big 70-yard run.
Well, Pete Bercich, I'll let you put your coach's hat on here and help us break this down, because Ezra Cleveland and friends looking really good on that offensive line right now.
Exactly right. What is old is new again. You see C.J. Ham leading up onto the linebacker, and that's where Dalvin Cook has that vision. It's just that little stutter, stop, and then go, which causes defenders to stop their feet as well. Right there, another ISO. He just runs through that one-arm tackle, bounces outside, reads the pullback block so well, and now he's gone. That's one thing Adrian Peterson struggled with, I think, was running behind a fullback. He wasn't patient enough. Dalvin Cook is patient enough. Not overly patient, but enough to let everything develop in front of him, and then with his vision able to choose the proper hole to get himself to the second and third level. So, explosive runner, keeps his shoulders square. I mean, shifty, can stop and start. I mean, what can't this young man do?
You mentioned the word vision. That seems to be a quality. When scouts look at running backs, and they look at the draft, and all the measurables you think about, I don't know how you measure vision, the instincts that a running back has, and how that's going to translate to the pro game from the college game. But Dalvin Cook, he talked about as a young player, he goes, I just wanted to get in the game once in a while. Yeah, look at me now.
And I think in the running back position, that's one of the reasons why it's somewhat difficult to scout. And then there's so many good running backs in the NFL, but only a handful of them that are elite. And it's all it's not just the 40 time and the size and those kinds of things. We saw, A.J. Dillon with Green Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just a big guy, can run straight ahead speed, but there's so much more to that position. And Dalvin is using his intelligence. He's using his toughness. He's using all those things to elevate and do more and make his game better and better. And that's where I really have to admire him, is that he is using every resource that he has to be the best player that he possibly can be. He's motivating the guys up front, and that was the thing. Like listening to Kirk Cousins, when Dalvin's not in there, who is the leader on that offense? That's my question. That's why he's so important to this team.
over the course of the first 4 or 5 games, one of the questions was asked him that the offense was struggling is, where is Irv Smith Jr.? He hasn't caught many balls. We don't see him involved in the offense. Well, we're seeing that more and more, maybe as a byproduct of what Dalvin Cook is doing. But Kirk Cousins and Gary Kubiak upstairs certainly recognizes this young man's talent.
Right, and I think what Irv Smith Jr. will take away from this game is realizing that he was open on these play actions because of the blocking that he has done over the last couple weeks. I mean, both he and Rudolph did a great job against Green Bay. In this game, both of his touchdowns were plays where he was kind of the lead blocker and then was able to leak his way out into the flat. And defenses are not going to respect you unless you can do some blocking. So in this case, if Tyler Conklin on the inside, the play action, because of the running game, he allows him to cross the field and score that first touchdown. On the second one, he's doing that little submarine type block where he looks like he's going to be kicking out the defensive end, kind of just ducks the shoulder, gets out into the flat, scores. Those are the things, the digging out of defensive ends, all that dirty work pays off. When you're able to run some play fakes in the red zone and score some touchdowns.
That second touchdown by Irv Smith Jr. was set up on arguably the best pass that Kirk Cousins threw today. It was a 3rd and 5 to their 28. Big difference maker. He lofted a perfect 35-yarder to Justin Jefferson as well, which kept that drive alive and enabled the Vikings to eventually score. And that was a perfectly executed play.
There were some good opportunities deep. Justin Jefferson, on a couple of them fell up short. Justin Jefferson starting to draw some penalties. I mean, you want to keep that part of your passing game sharp because teams are going to do more and more and more to stop Dalvin. And the more and more they do from a personnel standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, your wide receivers are going to be more and more isolated one-on-one on the outside. So before this season's over, you're going to see a game where defenses put enough bodies to stop or slow down Dalvin. The wide receiver positions are the ones that are going to have to make a defense pay for having too many guys down close. And Jefferson, he's explosive at home. I'll tell you that. He can, he's tough to slow down. He had a good matchup with Jeff Okudah, the other rookie from Ohio State. And, I thought he matched up well. On
the defensive side of the ball, when you lose someone in the status of Anthony Barr for the season, it puts a crimp in an already depleted defense. As the season looked on, I'm going, oh, my goodness, how are they ever going to get any better? Eric Kendricks has remained the glue. Harrison Smith has the backside, of course. Yep. But Eric Kendricks, everyone keeps gushing about him, Pete. And as a former linebacker and a linebacker coach, I know you kind of broke him down a little bit already, but what is he? Just is his intelligence? He seems to be. He's a student of the game. I know that he loves to study and understand what the position entails.
When he first got here, I remember one of the things I loved about him was him. He ran to the football, and he ran. I don't care if the ball was caught 20 yards behind him. It's that work ethic. He's turned that work ethic and made himself a better player fundamentally. He's reading play action passes and dropping off before the quarterback, before Stafford's even turned around and play faking. He already knows what's happening in front of him. The game gets so much easier when you're smart. He's fundamentally sound. He's technically sound. He understands pass concepts and things that are going on behind him. And by the way, he had 78 tackles coming in. He led this team. He's leading this team in tackles going into this game by 33.
Amazing.
That's not you can't argue with the You can't argue with the productivity. Absolutely not.
Well, let's look at this pick here. This says again.
This is one of my favorite plays of all time. This is that little bullet route by Hockenson. He tries to run the out and then runs it up. Look at he knows what's coming. Kendricks, wheel turns with them, comes underneath, intercepts that pass. That is the hardest, one of, if not the hardest routes for a linebacker to cover a tight end one-on-one in the end zone, short field, just like that. It's too short. You can't have safety. There's no help over the top. You're basically one-on-one in space with a great route runner, and he's able to not just knock the ball down, but intercept. And there were so many other plays that he, in the passing game that he let and made happen today. And the guy's he's outstanding. He's unbelievable.
We knew that if the Vikings are going to turn this season around, it had to start with divisional opponents. They upset the Packers in Green Bay last week. They beat the Lions today. Then they go to Chicago next Monday night, which has been a house of horrors for them, Pete, as you know. The Titans beat the Bears. I believe Nick Foles threw the ball 52 times today.
I believe so.
And looking at the early stats of this
game. The Bears put up 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Right.
So it was a 21-3 for a vast amount of the game. Derrick Henry, 68 yards on 21 attempts. That's going to be the challenge. The last time you when you're successful in Chicago, playing in Chicago, it's a great running game. It was Adrian Peterson before. You're going to have to kind of go with the same method that got you here. I think what's going on with the Bears is their defense, again, year after year, but again, this year they're getting tired of carrying the team.
Yeah.
The offense just isn't producing. They're turning the ball over, and the defense is just they don't want to carry that load again. But on a Monday Night Football, all bets are off. And like Denny Green used to say, you're on Monday Night Football, your kindergarten teachers watching, your aunts, your uncles, all these people who can't come and see you play this year at all, they're all going to be watching this game on Monday night, so we're going to get the best of the Bears. It's probably a low-scoring affair, quick game. Our defense is going to have to play lights out. I know that the Bears' offense is struggling, but we can't allow the Bears to get back on track. Anything we can do offensively against that defensive front is going to be huge.
I think Matthew Stafford had to go out of the game today because he took a knee to the head, and hopefully he'll be okay and return to the Detroit Lions. But the guy who replaced him today is the guy who beat the Vikings, right? Last year in Chicago. Chase Daniel's been in the league for 30 years.
Right, and if you remember that game, one thing that the Bears did that was smart. They let the clock go down to 2 or 3 seconds on every single play. They wanted to limit possessions, and they just let Daniels really just kind of dink and dunk up and down the field for first downs, shorten the game, didn't allow the Vikings offense to get anything going, and I think it was a very well executed game plan, only because they knew how good their defense was, and their defense did exactly what they thought the defense was going to do. But man, with the way these guys are running the football and Dalvin Cook, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what breaks if our running game doesn't put up over 130, 140 yards total, or if the Bears' defensive line and their linebacking crew and those guys hold up. So it's going to be a classic black and blue division.
Gotta love it.
In Chicago, Monday night. On the grass. It'll
be cold.
It's going to be,
It'll be cold.
I'm sure it will be. It's in Chicago. It's got to be cold.
Well, before, Pete, we wrap up things from U.S. Bank Stadium, November is the NFL Salute to Service Month, and the Vikings partnered with Hy-Vee to surprise 2 very deserving veterans with the ultimate game day setup. Our own very Pete Bercich was part of this very special surprise, so let's take a look.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Is that Liam?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? I'll tell you what, why don't you come to the door and I'll size you up on
That flag looks familiar. Wait,
Oh, look at them. You guys come on up. So, Hy-Vee and the Minnesota Vikings want to thank you for your support of our troops. And in doing so, we're going to give you the ultimate tailgate party package and free groceries for an entire year. How does that sound? I've been a Viking for 25 years, and this is probably one of the most amazing things that I've been able to do. Just want to thank the Vikings, thank Hy-Vee for making all this possible, and to show support to a couple families who have supported this country in amazing ways.
Well, Pete Bercich, take us behind the scenes of an emotional and really, I'm sure, very fulfilling moment for you.
It was, and you got a chance to see Liam, and Liam's an 8-year-old kid. His father sustained a head injury. He's unfortunately down in Florida trying to recover. His stepdad also served a couple tours out in Iraq, and the young man knows that he's he's an 8-year-old, and he knows he's sacrificing every day for the military. The Mossberg family, that group, Pat Ziegler, the ability to just step up and make their lives a little bit easier. I can't thank Hy-Vee enough and the Minnesota Vikings to have that, because those are the families that need it. Those are the places that are affected by it. I mean, we're fortunate enough to appreciate it, but we don't see it every day, and these families see it every single day.
Well, especially in these times, the pandemic going on and everything else having it really tough on kids and families across the country here in Minnesota. So a big thanks again to Hy-Vee for their support, and thanks to you, Pete, for making that happen. And the snow is gone now, too. It wasn't that long ago when you shot that video, I assume, right?
It is crazy. It'll be back soon, I'm sure.
It will. It sounds like it's going to be back on Tuesday, which leads us again to kind of wrap. Well, I play weatherman on TV, too. Getting back to Chicago, you have a lot of, I'm sure, incredible memories of playing there. The house that Walter Payton built, but it's going to be next Monday night again. Weather probably will be a little chilly. Big opportunity for the Vikings to get their third straight divisional win and really kind of catapult them back in the conversation. That's all where you want to be right now. They got the extra playoff spot. No one's talking playoffs. We're not talking playoffs. We are talking about the opportunity to get in that conversation with a win over Chicago.
And it's pretty amazing how the whole thing is playing itself out. You play today. Really, the loser of this game, you lose the head-to-head, hold the whole. I mean, you're in the bottom of the division. Yeah. Exactly right. And so the Detroit Lions making the playoffs is going to be tough. Well, the Vikings now we have a little bit of steam, and you get to play your 3 division opponents in a row, and the tough ones at Lambeau, at Chicago, are bookended by a game here in Detroit. So if you can go into Lambeau and win, and then you can go into Chicago and win. In the division, where can't you win? And, oh, by the way, we still get to play all 3 of these teams. We get Bears twice and Green Bay and Detroit one more time. I'm sorry, just Detroit one more time. Excuse me. So, you can climb that ladder. You can climb that ladder. I mean, now, today was about survival. This week's about, hey, moving up. Legitimately challenge for a wild card spot in this division. And you got to go through Chicago. You got to take care of the Bears. And it's going to be old school football Monday night outside. It'll be fun.
Look forward to it. We'll be here, of course, next Monday night to wrap things up after the Vikings-Bears game. Meanwhile, the Vikings go up to 3-5 with a big 34-20 win over the Detroit Lions here at US Bank Stadium. For Pete Bercich, I'm Mark Rosen. Thank you for joining us on Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Mystic Lake. Have a good afternoon.